The next story that I really want to get into is the Eastern Conference playoff race, particularly with a focus on the Raptors. The Toronto playoff picture is murky. It's complicated. There's so much depth, so much more depth to the situation I think people give credit to. And that's because, let's take it from the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, the Raptors were advertising themselves as the franchise that is one piece away from being a championship contender. If you are an all-star level player, if you're a superstar level player, pick Toronto because we can take you there. We'll make your job easier. You have depth. Pick Toronto. That has obviously changed as Toronto is now the 12th seed. I think they had a bad break with COVID. I think the Florida thing screwed them up. But remember, this season was supposed to be an advertising ploy for one of the big fish this free agency. Open gym was open tampering when they were going after Giannis. But I don't know if you close that door outright because here, let's understand the playoff picture first. Because I have to look at this like 5 times a day. So the way the playoffs are going to work in this season is that the 7th place team and 8th place team at the end of the season, they play each other. Is it a series or a 1-game knockout? I don't know. Let's say I think it's like if the 7th seed wins one game, they get the 7th seed. If the 8th seed beats the 7th seed twice, they get the 7th seed. I think that's what it is. It might be wrong. But regardless, those two teams are going to play each other for the 7th seed. Conversely, lower down is going to be the 9th seed plays the 10th seed. And the winner of the 9th versus 10th series plays the loser of the 7-8 series. Loser of the 7-8 versus the winner of the 9-10 gets the 8th seed. So if we go back, right now the Raptors are the 12th seed. So we're tied for 11th with Chicago. I guess they hold the tiebreaker. We're 2 games back of Washington, and we're not catching Indiana. If you're the 10th seed, you play Indiana, and that's a winnable series if you're the Raptors. Then you're playing the loser of the 7th-8th matchup. If that stays as Miami versus Charlotte, or Boston versus Charlotte, which looks like the only 2 options right now, Charlotte's going to lose. And I do think the Raptors can beat Charlotte. And then you're playing Brooklyn in the first round as the 8th seed. So you're the 8th seed, you play Brooklyn. And if you win a game, if you win 2 games against Brooklyn and maybe keep it tight, you're not going to beat Brooklyn. No one's making that argument. No one will make that argument. And if it's Philly, I think it's the same thing. I think you can win a game or 2 against the top 2 seeds in the East. If you sneak into that playoffs picture, and then you preserve that, hey, we're still just a piece away from being a super, super good team. Keeps Toronto alive as a viable market, which is important. The real piece of Raptors news that we're not talking about is Masai Ujiri, because Masai Ujiri is also going to be a free agent this summer. Do executives hit free agency? I think there's only 30 of you in the league. I feel like you just sign the contract every time it's on the table, no matter what the team is. But Masai Ujiri, obviously, credit where credit's due. Masai Ujiri has earned the ability to, I guess, ponder the market. But here's the fun part about Masai Ujiri not having a contract right now. The only things we heard of in the last 2 years is that Masai Ujiri wants to go to New York. I don't think New York wants Masai Ujiri anymore. I think Leon Rose has done an amazing job with the Knicks organization. He's doing an amazing job with the G League organization. I think he's well liked. I think his job is firmly safe for at least another few years. Masai Ujiri is not going to the Knicks. The other team that was always mentioned with Masai Ujiri is the Washington Wizards. One of the most on fire teams in the league right now. I don't think the deal for Masai Ujiri that Washington would have gave him, which was basically everything you ever wanted, plus stake in the franchise, plus all your initiatives paid for, plus all these other things. I don't think that's on the table anymore for Masai Ujiri in New York or in Washington. So why hasn't he signed a deal yet with the Raptors? This leaves me hope that he will sign a deal in the summer. I don't think there's any more options for him. I don't think the NBA, in the NBA, you ruin a good thing. And the 2 most tangible options for Masai Ujiri were Washington, where he's from, where he has family, where his wife's from. And the Knicks, because the Knicks is the project, right? The Knicks is like, wow, I built a winner in New York. That's like building a winner in Toronto. But those options are off the table, I would assume. For good reason, I would assume. So with Masai Ujiri not having his two bullets in the chamber, I think he has to come back to the Raptors. I just wonder why it hasn't happened already. But that's where I am at with Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri had two options, Washington and New York. Neither of them look tangible anymore. So does he sign a deal in the near future? Maybe he waits for after the playoffs shakeup. But look, your leverage is down. I don't think anyone expected the Knicks and Wizards to play themselves out of Masai. But that's what looks like happened. Masai's situation has to be figured out before the Lowry situation gets figured out, before the Raptors' whole future gets figured out. So there's a whole mess here, and it all comes back to this playoff picture here. Let me know what you think the Raptors should do. Should you play for that 10th seed, try to make a splash in the playoffs, or should you tank, let Washington keep Tommy Shepard? Let me know.